en el pasado, pero hay que asegurarnos de inscribirnos como exentos a los impuestos, ¿no? Por ser fundación.
Y realmente es un trámite eso. Nosotros somos exentos como fundación, somos exentos del impuesto a las utilidades, ¿no? Tenemos esa exención. Pero en el caso del impuesto a las propiedades, hay que hacer un trámite cada año
Así es.
para poder hacer esa exención, digamos, ¿no?
Sí.
Entonces, pero en este caso el terreno le pertenece a la Iglesia de Dios, ¿no? Entonces ellos, por políticas ya de las iglesias de ACE, ellos han decidido pagar los impuestos para evitar una serie de problemas que ellos han decidido, ¿no? Pero se podría tramitar la exención de impuestos por el hecho de ser un hogar y no una iglesia, no de esta propiedad específicamente, pero es un trámite que se debe hacer todos los años.
So, yeah, they are aware of that exemption. It is a paperwork process that has to be done every single year. And right now, the property at Haven of Hope is owned by the Church of God. And right now, the Church of God, under the policies that the Evangelical Association of the city has put out, they have decided to go ahead and pay taxes to avoid certain problems that come with not paying the taxes. So that is an option. It's an option that the Church of God has decided to not take based on just the different policies that are going around, political things, political reasons for not doing it. But it is something that you have to update every year.
So I guess that leads to the next question of what would be the requirements for ongoing filings as a nonprofit, or what?
The process requires that you have to go. It's a process. It's an 8-month process. It's not a simple process.
The management ongoing, right?
Yeah, but the requirements are that you have to present your financial information. The property has to be registered as an asset within your books. And then you have to have in the case of Haven of Hope, which is an international NGO registered in Bolivia, you would have to present annually the renewal of your authorization of functioning in Bolivia, operating in Bolivia.
Okay, and so if we are just landowners, we own it as a NGO, we get registered as an NGO, we own the land, but we assign all of the managing to Gladys and Marco. So we're not, as an NGO, Haven of Hope International, we assign that to somebody else. Do we still have to do all of the reporting?
Yes, because.
Okay. Oh.
That's why some institutions choose to pay the tax, because it's just a cost of business, right? You mark as a cost of operating, paying that tax. Now, if you have a large building, then the property taxes would go up significantly, and then it actually becomes not an option, not fighting for the exemption, in other words.
Okay.
As the owner of the area of Santa Cruz that you're in has a very, very small taxable value. So in other words, the land is not worth much in perspective with other areas.
Okay.
If you were to build on that property, or if the property value around you were to raise, and that taxable value of the property rises, then filing for the exemption becomes a necessity, because the cost would be prohibitive. Right now, you have to analyze what the tax will be. I'm sure it's not a lot. But what I'm saying is that, or the point of this originally was, there is a difference from owning the land as a nonprofit than as an individual. As an individual, you don't have that option.
Right. Well, and I appreciate you taking the time to explain the differences so that we can make an informed decision on which way we go.
Yes.
So, how would we find out what the estimated tax is on the property? I guess we could maybe.
Analogous is what the church is paying, because it's an approximate size of land, right? So what is the church paying annually? And you'll probably paying pretty much the same, maybe a little bit more, because it's a little bit more land, I think.
Okay, so if we do not register as a nonprofit, let me ask you if, does that make the process simpler?
No. What we're talking is just the exemption. You still have to register
Okay.
as the tax subject. So in other words, the city wants to tax someone, and
Well,
in
I
order
mean,
to tax,
if we don't register as a nonprofit, do we still need to register as a nonprofit, or can we just register as a corporation? I'm assuming that's how Church of God World Missions is doing it.
no, you have to register as an NGO.
Okay, so
You
the
have to
question is
register as
whether
an
we're gonna register as tax exempt or not.
Yes, exactly. If you want to go through the exempt process, but you have to register as an NGO.
Okay.
Is there a cost involved with registering as an NGO? And also, what is the cost of filing the exemption every year?
The cost of filing the exemption is basically what your lawyer will charge you for doing that process. The cost of how you said the registering of the NGO, I think I sent a budget for that, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Good question.
Maybe it was included with everything you were doing. I'll have to go back and look at that email. I don't remember off the top of my head. Yes.
So the quote, yeah, it would be just good to define the quote, what that includes.
Yes. Can you give me a second, please?
Yes, Jeff, please, go ahead. So,
Catita, ¿me puedes resumir lo último, porfa?
Claro, lo último que le estaba explicando es que lo bueno de estar registrado como una ONG es que uno puede hacer ese proceso de ser exento a los impuestos. Y él dice que muchas veces, como dijo, de la Iglesia de Dios, deciden que no es tan necesario ya por política, o tal vez es bajo el costo, entonces lo asume nomás como una parte de los gastos de su corporación, ¿no? De su negocio. Pero si uno ya empieza a construir edificios grandes y todo eso, el mismo costo, el precio, digamos, del impuesto que hay que pagar ya lo hace pues imposible no registrarse para ser exento a impuesto. Entonces le estaba explicando que es opcional, ¿no? Registrarse como exento a los impuestos, pero que sí o sí no hay cómo evitar el hacer ese acuerdo marco. O sea, registrar, digamos, su fundación aquí. Eso sí o sí hay que hacer para que ellos lo puedan comprar. Eso le estaba explicando.
Perfecto, sí, gracias.
Sí. Y yo nomás le...
Are you by chance I can't figure out how to report on this. I sure wish I could have.
It's not showing anyone as the host. But Eileen is in here. It looks like
she's trying to record on her laptop.
And it just wasn't working.
So
Let me see.
I logged in on my phone, but I can't record on my phone. I think it's kind of beyond that point now.
I wonder if I can sign in as host and, oh,
I just thought if you could hit record, that would be great. See, every time I hit record, it says, please ask the host to give you permission.
oh,
That's all right at this point.
I'm checking.
So all of
I've
that.
been taking notes too.
Okay, all of that information on the original process that I wanted to have, I was typing it in Podio, and then it all disappeared.
It's all gone. I took really good notes, but I was hoping to compare notes. I've been writing down as much as I can, so.
All right, well, thank you. Yeah, so basically it's gonna take, if I'm understanding this correctly, it's 9 months away before we can break ground.
Yeah, at least 8.
Okay. Welcome back, Alejandro.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So were you going to get what, the information we were talking about?
No, sorry, no. My assistant was requesting my.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're
process.
clear then on the $3,000 for you, what that includes, and is there additional cost for registering the NGO?
Yes. What I budgeted is an approximate of the number of times that I will need to travel to La Paz. There shouldn't be any more than that, but that's not a certainty because that's not under my control. But that's a fair approximation for what I consider a fair approximation of what you're going to need to budget.
You have to travel to La Paz?
Yes. This is done in La Paz.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay. All right, so does registering the NGO, you have to go to La Paz, is that a separate trip?
No. Sorry, I'm talking about registering the NGO. I sent Marco a budget for registering the NGO in La Paz.
There's an email with the information, and I'm pretty sure you said that it included the, getting the property documents and getting the Acuerdo Barco all situated, if I remember correct. Let me see if I can pull it up.
If we can, yeah.
Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
Let me pull it up also because the mind is fragile.
Yes.
Yes.
Estamos ahorita hablando de qué va a incluir los $3,000, porque si hay un costo en firmar el acuerdo marco, si hay el costo de registrarse como exento a impuestos, queremos tener una idea clara del costo total que incluye lo que nos está ofreciendo por los $3,000.
Ya, la propuesta de Alejandro estaba claro, si pueden ver el detalle que es la mano de obra, o sea, todo el trabajo trabajo profesional son los $3,000 y aparte están los viáticos, pasajes, y bueno, este tema de la exención de impuestos no estaba considerado dentro de la propuesta, ¿no? Pero yo creo que Alejandro nos puede hacer una adenda a lo que pasó para decirnos cuánto nos cobraría por hacer ese trámite de exención de impuestos una vez que se haya firmado el acuerdo marco.
Yeah, so Marco's just explaining that he really did spell out very well in the email that he sent. I'm not finding it right at this moment, but he spelled out very well. The $3,000 is covering his fees, his lawyer fees, like for the work that he's doing, his labor costs, and that there would be additional costs involved. So he's asking maybe he could send an update on that just to know what the other costs involved. what other costs we're going to be looking at
Yeah, I
for traveling.
thought I had, but I can't find it either. And let me send another email specifying what is my fees and what are the other costs that you can expect to incur.
Okay. That will be good. That way we've got that. And if you could include what is the cost for the ongoing annual filings, should we decide to go that route? I would like
Sure,
to find out
absolutely.
what is that, and then I'll ask Kathy, or if you could maybe have Marco let us know what is the property taxes that they're paying now.
Ujú.
Yeah.
Ya. Entonces, está pidiendo Alice que también incluya qué va a ser el costo anual de estar actualizando cada vez la exención a los impuestos. Y también, Marcos, si pudiera compartir con nosotros cuáles han sido los montos de los impuestos que han pagado en la propiedad refugio como Iglesia de Dios en Bolivia, porque nos indicó el abogado que debe ser un precio parecido, ¿no? Como son vecinos y casi la misma cantidad de terreno, que si nos ayuda con ese monto para que ellos puedan ver y prevenir, ¿no? O prever.
Por ahí el costo de la tramitación es más que el impuesto.
Sí, sí. No es muy alto, depende mucho de los metros cuadrados de construcción. Nosotros hemos pagado impuestos del terreno, ¿no? Porque estamos todavía en ese proceso de legalización de todas las construcciones, que se paga un monto por las construcciones, ¿no? Pero le podemos pasar el precio referencial del pago de impuestos del terreno, que no es un monto elevado si lo consideras a todo un año, ¿no? Realmente va a ser más caro el trámite de extensión y todo eso, porque es
El impuesto.
el costo
Sí.
del sí.
¿Tú conoces el edificio del alfarero, Marco?
Conozco algo así.
Ya, yo le hago el trámite al alfarero. Ahora, el alfarero es una mole, ¿sí? Entonces, el impuesto para ellos es elevadísimo. Entonces, yo les hago el trámite para ellos y para ellos, obviamente, que vale la pena. En el caso de un 2.500 metros, allá no sé si justifica eso. A eso me iba.
Ya, sí, el tema, por ejemplo, aquí en el hogar tenemos edificios grandes, ¿no? Y ahí al lado, donde va a ser el edificio de los niños, es un edificio de 2 plantas, ¿no? Es un edificio grande.
Yeah, Alice, what we were saying is that we're not sure it justifies paying the tax, but once you have construction on it, then you have to analyze, well, you'll know what the cost of the exempt process is, and then you can just do a cost-benefit analysis later on.
Okay. So I'm sharing a document what I see for the attorney's fees, Kathy.
Okay.
The drafting of transfer documents is 3,500 Bs, processing of the registry of the owner right is 7,000, processing of AMCB. What is AMCB? Is that the?
Yeah, that's what I found
that
out later. Yeah, that's the registry. Yep.
I'm sorry, that's for what?
That's the approval of the NGO.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, so what we need right now, the next steps, what are the next steps for right now? What do you need?
Well, immediately, what I need is a power of attorney for Marco so that he can sign the preliminary document. That's step one.
Yep.
And then step two would be that you define in what capacity we're gonna request that acuerdo marco, that ACMB. Those are the two things that we need relatively quickly in order to get the ball rolling.
Okay, and so just to clarify, so if we are just property owner, but we assign all of the managing duties and activities to Gladys and Marco. We need to tell you that, correct?
Yes, yes, because we're going to request the ACMB in that sense. In other words, this is what Haven of Hope International is going to do in Bolivia. We're just going to be the property owners, and we're going to assign the managing of the day-to-day operations to this institution.
Okay, so let me ask you this too, because we have Hope Haven Foundation, which is what Marco is able to do fundraising through down there. Do we need to establish that we are able to do fundraising in Bolivia down there? You see any reason to do that, or does that automatically happen when we register as a ACM?
No. Nothing happens automatically with regards to NGO. It has to be very specific. Remember that Bolivia has a very complicated process with NGOs, especially USAID, and with regards to American NGOs specific. So nothing is automatic. We have to request. In other words, we're going to be the property owners, and we're going to raise funds and whatever we decide, or you decide that your activity would. And this Acuerdo Marco has to be renewed periodically. So next year you decide to have different activities, then we request a new Acuerdo Marco with regards to those activities.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let me just put the scenario out there for us to just talk about. So we have talked with Freddie Jimenez Jr. He's working with the government, and he's got some needs for the city that are a little bit separate from the orphanage, like food,
okay,
for instance. So we've got organizations up here that we may possibly be able to get some funding for food money.
All right.
So what I'm not sure is, if we do establish this NGO down there, would we need that? You may not even need that to funnel money to Freddie to help with food needs in the government, because it really doesn't have to do with the orphanage, right? It doesn't have to do with so I don't think I would run it through Hope Haven Foundation, but I don't really know. And so I thought I would just bring the question up. If we were to get funding in that would help the city in another way, should we utilize an NGO with Haven of Hope International to provide food to the city of Santa Cruz for that? Marco, you understand? Oh, Marco.
Ajá. Está preguntando la hermana Alicia que si al tener ese acuerdo con el gobierno, si Refugio de Esperanza Internacional podría también canalizar dinero al gobierno local, ¿no? Por las necesidades que mencionaba Freddy Jr., ¿no? Si esa necesidad de Santa Cruz sin hambre, si hay organizaciones allá que quieren tal vez, digamos, proveer un recurso para comprar comida aquí, si se puede hacer a través de ese día, o si es, o sea, porque con la Fundación Refugio Esperanza nada que ver, porque no va con su función, ¿no? Como está registrado. Está preguntando, ¿no? ¿Será que se da ese caso o no? Esa es la pregunta.
Lo podemos definir justamente en el alcance del acuerdo marco, ¿no? Lo que nosotros definamos en el alcance del acuerdo marco es lo que vamos a poder hacer, ¿no? Ahora, respecto a la Fundación de Refugio Esperanza, la fundación no es sobre el albergue, ¿no? La fundación tiene un alcance mayor que el albergue, ¿no? Tenemos los comedores, tenemos muchas cosas. Se podría hacer también a través de la fundación, pero también lo podemos hacer directo a través de la Fundación Refugio Esperanza Internacional, Haven of Hope Internacional, ¿no? Realmente va a depender de lo que nosotros definamos como alcance, ¿no?
Mark was just re-explaining that it really depends on us. We define the scope that we want to have as an NGO working in Bolivia. We're the ones who define it. So right now, Hope Haven Foundation does more than just the orphanage. They have feeding centers, and they do more than that. So it could go through Hope Haven Foundation, but it could also come directly through Haven of Hope International. We would just have to define that as something we're going to do as part of the agreement.
I want to make it as simple as possible. Oh, go ahead, Marco.
El único aspecto negativo que yo veo, digamos, de vincular Refugio Esperanza Internacional con digamos, el tema político, porque Freddy es un político, digamos, Fredito es un político, es que puede un poco hacer que el gobierno ponga sus ojos en la fundación, digamos, ¿no? Porque él ahorita pertenece a un partido contrario al del gobierno nacional y el acuerdo marco se firma con el gobierno nacional.
So the only negative side he sees of that, of linking Haven of Hope International or the foundation to that program that Freddie mentioned, is that Freddie's a politician. So, and it's right now a political party that is contrary to the national political party. And that could just call more attention to the foundation, unwanted attention to the foundation, because it is, that you are talking politics then.
Pero por otro lado, también el lado positivo de hacerlo a través de la Refugio Internacional es que están canalizando dólares a través de la fundación para beneficio de Bolivia, a pesar de que sea de un partido contrario, ¿no? Entonces eso mueve la economía y es algo que le interesa al gobierno y le interesa al país, de que se generen donaciones, peor si son a fondo perdido para comida, digamos, ¿no? Entonces tampoco es que va a haber un conflicto, digamos, ¿no? Realmente yo pienso que podríamos hacerlo si es lo que queremos, si es algo que quisiéramos y se puede lograr en beneficio de la ciudad de Santa Cruz, sería positivo, ¿no? Porque había su lado negativo, pero también hay un lado muy positivo, que es el canalizar dólares para beneficio social, ¿no?
So that would be the negative side of it, but of course there's a very positive side of it, because we'll be channeling dollars to help the country of Bolivia, and specifically the city of Santa Cruz. So there's that little bit of a negative aspect, but if we want to do that, there's also a huge positive impact that it could have. So it just depends on what we define as something we want to do.
Okay. So I'm thinking that if we run any kind of funds through the NGO, it's going to require accounting, it's going to require a lot more reporting than if we don't. If we just, am I correct in that assumption?
Yes.
And so when we have to fill out annual reports on finances, it's only the money that goes through that foundation in Bolivia, is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
In other words, you'll be reporting on the finances of your Bolivian operation.
And so basically, if we're just owning the property, it will be, we'll transfer the money down to pay the property tax, they pay the property tax, and that's it.
That's it, exactly.
Okay. I think we'll just go with that route and keep it simple. Do you have do you see any benefits, Alejandro, in?
Well, the main benefit, the main benefit is that as a nonprofit, you always have the option, if needed, that you can file for the exemption. As an individual, you do not. So I think that registering as a nonprofit is important, number one. And number two, the simplest is usually best. So if you can keep your operations as clear, even for the government, to avoid any, in Spanish, it's called susceptibilidades. I'm not sure, I forget what they are.
Susceptibility, yeah.
Susceptibility, yes, from the government.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the last question then that I have, thank you for that. I think that's what I want to do as well, keep things simple. So we did speak to an accountant up here regarding how it will impact us as a nonprofit here. And he did talk about a couple things. He said if for entities in Bolivia, you have to, if for for-profit corporations, you have to determine, and he gave me 3 names, what type of entity it would be. Sociedad
Anónima, sociedad de responsabilidad limitada.
Yeah. Do we have to choose that for a nonprofit?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. You're registering as a foundation. In other words, you're not registering a new entity in Bolivia. You're registering the American entity is being authorized to work in Bolivia. So we're going to need your bylaws, your articles of constitution of the American entity. We're going to have it registered in Bolivia.
Okay, good to know. Very good. Okay. All right. Well, very good. Then I think that's
one last
yeah.
thing. One last thing that is important. Bolivian repatriation of the fund. Eventually, you'll have to decide what to do with the property. You can sell it, and you have to decide what you're going to do with the fund. Okay, remember that the property owner is Haven of Hope International. Something that you have to consider, and something that you have to run through your tax people. In Bolivia, there is if you're not exempt, if you haven't filed for the exemption, there is a tax on profit, okay? Whenever you expatriate funds from Bolivia, in other words, whenever you transfer funds from Bolivia to your corporate office, the Bolivian government will assume, and you have to prove otherwise, that there is a 50% profit on the money that you're transferring. So
that's money from Bolivia to here.
Yes, so there will be a 25% tax on that 50%.
Okay, from Bolivia to.
Okay, so any transfer of Bolivian funds, of funds from Bolivia to a corporate headquarters outside of Bolivia will assume a 50% profit, and there is a 25% tax on that profit. So it's 25 of the 50%, 12.5%.
So if we were to use the foundation there for fundraising purposes and we get a large donation that comes to the NGO there and we try and transfer it here, and then it goes, that would be taxed?
No, what I'm talking about is you're selling the land and you're transferring the funds back to the state.
Oh.
That's what I'm
okay.
In other words, whenever you decide to repatriate the funds back to the state.
So as long as the funds stay in Bolivia, we're good.
You're good.
So.
Now remember, you're also exempt from that tax, but you have to file. You have to register as an exempt corporation, and you have to file annually. But you don't have to think about that right now. It's something that you have to consider. Eventually, something will have to happen with that property.
So if we were to sell the property, we know we're going to sell the property, we register it as a tax exempt the year before, then avoid the tax.
Yes. If you have a very good lawyer, he'll recommend.
We have a very good lawyer. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So I don't see us really the need for running any funds through this NGO unless Marco and Gladys can think of any. I was trying to think of scenarios, but I don't. I think we're basically going to own the property, we'll pay the taxes if that's the way we go, and that's it.
Dice Alicia que hasta ahora lo que ella ve como la respuesta más sencilla y más beneficioso es simplemente ellos, Refugio Internacional, ser dueños de la propiedad en Bolivia y delegar la administración del hogar, de las actividades que se llevan a cabo ahí a ustedes, digamos, ¿no? Pero quiere escuchar.
Dicho, cubrir los impuestos hasta que se justifique la exención.
Pero ella está preguntando, ella no ve una necesidad para tener que canalizar fondos a través del Refugio de Esperanza Internacional, o a no ser que ustedes, Marco y Gladys, ven una razón por lo cual deberían incluir ahí canalizar fondos. Para ella más sencillo ser dueño de la propiedad, pagar los impuestos y punto, ¿no? ¿Ustedes qué piensan, Marco, Gladys? ¿Hay alguna razón por la cual deberían abrirse más a otra cosa?
Yo pienso que está bien nomás que sea para dueño de la propiedad.
Yeah.
Porque en realidad nosotros estamos canalizando los fondos a través de la fundación.
Sí. Yeah, she thinks just bringing the property owner and then just continuing to channel the funds through the foundation as we're doing now is a great idea. Mm-hmm.
Y bueno, de todos modos, el acuerdo marco se tiene que renovar anualmente, ¿no? Entonces, si hubiera alguna necesidad, la visión se amplía en algún momento, en el siguiente acuerdo marco.
Exactamente.
Yeah. Every year you have to renew this agreement to work as the tax subject here. So that's that NGO here. So whenever we renew that agreement, if we see that there was really a need, we can always modify that in coming years as necessary.
Okay, and so then in anticipating the cost for this NGO in Bolivia, what would your fees be to complete all of the reporting on an ongoing basis every year? Do you have an estimated cost?
For the reporting, I don't, but I can set something up. I can think about it. If you give me till tomorrow, I can get you some.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. So I will wait for your power of attorney form, and then when I get that, I will get it signed and I'll send it off to State of Florida, get that back, and I'll send it back to you, and we'll have a further conversation on what type of capacity we'll be operating on as a foundation, so we can get that information.
All right,
to you.
excellent.
Okay. Marco, do we have any updates from Omar on where he is with his progress he's making?
Lo ha dicho Omar, hermano Marco, en cuanto a cómo van los avances que él está haciendo, qué avances él ha tenido.
Él necesita, justamente hablé con él el viernes y él ya nos ha dicho que está de nuestro lado el atraso, que de nosotros tenemos que seguir dando los siguientes pasos, y el primer paso sería firmar el contrato y él tener el dinero, porque él tiene que mover sus influencias, y es con dinero en la alcaldía para que esto salga en los 3 meses, ¿no? Entonces él me ha dicho que necesita que hagamos cuanto antes la firma del convenio. De la firma del convenio va con los $100,000, ¿no? Entonces ya para que él pueda empezar a hacer todos los trámites, ¿no? Entonces realmente lo que urge es la firma del convenio, y es una pregunta que tengo que responderle a él, un estimado de cuándo estaríamos firmando el convenio y dándole el dinero.
Mm-hmm. So he just talked to him on Friday, and in summary, the ball's in our court right now. He's done pretty much all he can do. The next step is to sign the contract for him to receive the $100,000, because that's the money he's going to use to move all of the paperwork that he has to do and to push his influences to get what he needs to get done in the 3 months. So right now the ball's in our court, and Marco actually has to get an answer back to him about how long do we think it's going to take to have everything we need to sign the contract with him or the agreement with him and to send the funds.
Okay, so I was thinking he had to transfer the property from another municipality to Santa Cruz, but I guess he needs the contract first to do that?
Yeah, he needs the money to be able to move things, is what it sounds like.
I misunderstood that one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, then we will get that done.
Yeah, lo haremos entonces. Lo hacemos. Una
Okay.
vez.
So communication, so
Yeah,
should
and
we, go ahead.
remember that the power of attorney. Okay. Sorry, I was saying that as important as the funds is the power of attorney. One cannot go without the other.
I'm sorry, he was cutting in and out.
Oh, sorry, my internet seems unstable. What I was saying is that as important as the funds is the power of attorney. Is that better?
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, Well, that sounds good. Then, I'll watch for the email with that document. And I will get that taken care of. I will work on that tomorrow.
All right, excellent. Marco, yo te voy a pasar la instructiva entonces del poder más tardecito para que lo remitas a Estados Unidos, ¿ya?
Dice que
Marco.
mañana va a trabajar en eso del poder. Mañana va a estar trabajando en eso, dice Alicia. Una vez que tenga la lista de lo que tiene que hacer.
Muy bien.
Ya.
Entonces, ya les he pasado para que vayan revisando de todas maneras, Catita, la última versión que me pasó Alejandro del modelo de contrato que vamos a firmar con Omar para que lo vayan revisando y cualquier duda le digamos a Alejandro para después enviárselo a Omar y que él también esté de acuerdo y logremos ese acuerdo antes de que aprovechar estos días que vamos a tener para firmar el convenio hasta que llegue todo el permiso del poder. Entonces aprovechar estos días para ponernos de acuerdo en el convenio que ha redactado Alejandro.
Yeah. So he said he also sent and updated. I saw some stuff coming through WhatsApp, land property, the land purchase group. I saw he had added some information. So he said if we can just keep reviewing that, the contract information, the agreement information over the next few days while we get the power of attorney ready, then we can just make sure we're all on the same page and in agreement with what's in that document so that we can go ahead and move forward.
Okay, so you're still working out details of the contract. Is that what I'm hearing?
Se está entonces poniendo más detalle al contrato, al acuerdo.
No, it's fine.
Alejandro ha redactado un convenio con todas las recomendaciones que nos había dado en su primer correo. No sé si recuerdan que nos dio unas recomendaciones que faltaban algunas cosas. Entonces ha redactado un convenio con todas sus recomendaciones.
Yeah. So whenever we had that contract draft that we had, if you remember, Alejandro sent email out that listed his recommendations about what we needed to do to update that contract. Well, he's gone ahead and made all of those updates. So this would be like the final draft. We just need to look at it and make sure that we're in agreement with it. And if there's anything that we need to change, this would be the time because, we want to be able to sign it as soon as we get the power of attorney. So let's take advantage of these next few days to also look over that.
Okay, so I have a copy of that contract.
It's in a WhatsApp group is where I saw it coming in, I believe, but I'll look for it and try to translate and get it out either later tonight or early tomorrow so that you'll have time to look at it.
Okay, and Kathy, if you can send it by email.
Okay, yeah, if it's not an email, I'll resend it. I'm assuming because I saw a whole bunch of information coming in as we were getting ready to get on the call. And since he said he sent it, I'm guessing that's where he sent it to.
All right, and then that way I can get it to the board, and I can't imagine that they're going to have any changes, but I do need to run it by the board. So as soon as I have that, what's today? Today is
Tuesday. The 12th.
Okay.
Yep. Sounds good.
I will tell them that they need to have any comments or questions, I'll say by Thursday. And so in the meantime, I'll get working on the notary and hopefully get that back by Friday. I don't know how long they take here to.
Yeah. Muy bien. Entonces yo voy a ir trabajando en la traducción entre ahora en la noche, mañana temprano, para que ella comparta el nuevo contrato con la Junta. Ella dice, no me imagino que van a tener algo más que agregar porque ya han tenido oportunidad, pero de todos modos les va a dar hasta jueves para revisar y dar cualquier observación. Y hasta el día viernes espera haber terminado con lo que es el poder, aparte que puede hacer localmente, dependiendo de cuánto tiempo lleva allá el correo y todo lo que tiene que hacer, los courier. Pero así vamos a ir avanzando esta semana.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Very good.
Muy bien.
I think we're good. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to meet you, Alejandro.
Likewise.
Okay.
Pleasure, Kathy, and I'm really impressed with Kathy. Her English and her Spanish.
Ay, gracias. No, usted habla. His English is great, and I finally understood. I've translated all of these things, but the way you laid it out today, I'm like, wow, now it makes so much more sense. Like I was kind of getting it, but today it makes so much more sense. Thank you. You did great.
You're welcome. All right.
Yeah.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Marco,
God bless
Ojalá.
everybody. Nos vemos, hermanos. Hasta
Hablamos,
mañana.
hablamos, gracias.
Bendiciones. Gracias. Chao, chao.
Chao, chao.
Okay,
hasta
all
luego,
right,
hasta luego. Bye
all
bye.
right, ciao, ciao. Uh, yes, yes.
Pronto, Alicia aquí. Un mes, mayo. Alicia aquí en mayo.
Ah, sí, sí, sí. Y mucho, muchas situaciones aquí y la día en mayo y costa y personas vamos con Alicia y John y Alicia prefera AJ y Robert McMath,
Wow, sí.
sí,
Wow.
y posible Missions Pastor de Citygate.
De verdad.
Yes, pray, so it's good. Y Melanie, hoy en hospital, bebé,
Wow, 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 wow.
posible, yesterday, Melanie, vamos